Of the thousands of books written by the Maya, shockingly only 4 pre-Columbian books are left, while the rest were all tragically burned by the Spaniards in an attempt to stamp out heresy. Remarkably, all 4 of these remaining books have to do with astronomy, and among them is the spectacular Dresden Codex. These pages, showing glyphs of the sun eaten by a dragon and a hanged moon goddess, depict solar and lunar eclipses. Below we see the number 177 repeated, the number of days after which solar and lunar eclipses often recur. And if we go through the entire eclipse table, we can calculate the lunar month as 29.53059 days, only 23 seconds removed from the modern value. The beautiful Venus table gives 301 revolutions of Venus, each 584 days. And over this huge time period, they subtract 24 days, which gives the period of Venus only 23 seconds removed from its modern value. Incredible! The hieroglyph for Mars is a beast. And here we see the Mars beast hanging on the Mayan zodiac, with beneath it numbers adding up to the Mars orbital time of 780 days. So we have a lot to get to, and if this material is valuable to you, please subscribe and let's start. The Dresden Codex was written around the 12th century AD. And similar to the works in other early civilizations, the goal of this text was to study the sun, the moon and the planets in order to predict the will of the gods. In line with this, the first 23 pages of the Dresden Codex give omens based on the sacred 260-day calendar known as the Tzolkin calendar. To give a rough idea on how to read these omens, the numbers in black above the figures read 15, 33 and 4. In the last lecture we've learned that the horizontal bar means 5, so 3 of them means 15. Here we have a bar with 3 dots, meaning 5 plus 3 is 8, but next to it there's a symbol for 20, giving a total of 33. And here finally we see 4 dots, meaning 4. And if we add these numbers together, 15, 33 and 4, we get 52. In red, dates are given according to a 13-day cycle in that Tzolkin system. As I hope you remember, the Tzolkin system is a calendar of 260 days, and this is equal to 20 times 13. So 20 cycles of 13. As you can see, we start at number 4 in this cycle, and if we then add 15, we get 4 plus 15 is 19, which minus 13 in that 13-day calendar leaves 6. And indeed we see the number 6 here in red. And this game is then played for each of these 3 omens. Then we have to go through this table 5 times, corresponding to the 5 day glyph symbols on the left. And if we do this 5 times, we get a total of 52 times 5 is 260 days, which is a whole cycle in that Tzolkin calendar. The images below then tell us about the omens on these given dates. The first, for instance, shows a female carrying the skeleton death god on her back. And the text above it reads, quote, "Death is the burden of the moon goddess, bad winds. 2 blue-yellow is the burden of Ix-Chel, the moon goddess. Mui is her burden, the divination of the moon goddess." Now, I don't really understand what I'm reading here, but it is clearly an omen. Then on pages 52 to 58, we find horoscopes, but now based on the recurrence of lunar and solar eclipses. So this is where astronomy comes in. Here we see the symbol of the sun, which is depicted here within a black and white figure, referring to the solar eclipse. And also notice here that the sun hangs on a band that represents the Mayan zodiac, containing the Mayan constellations. A fuller version of this you can for instance see in the Paris Codex, which includes various of their constellations. And here we see the same eclipsed sun, but now devoured by a dragon. And here the lunar goddess hangs herself on the zodiac. On the bottom of these pages, the number 177 is repeated over and over again, sometimes interspersed with the number 148. Here we see 3 bars and 2 dots, meaning 15 plus 2 is 17. And above it, on the second place, we see a bar and 3 dots, which is 8. But all the numbers on this second row we have to multiply by 20. And 8 times 20 is 160, and 160 plus 17 gives that number 177. These two numbers correspond to the number of days in respectively 6 and 5 lunar months. And after these intervals, both lunar and solar eclipses often recur. And sometimes, by the way, 178 days are used instead of 177. And possibly this is to correct for that 6 lunar months are actually equal to 177.18 days. So you need to correct after a while for the cycle to stay in sync. Above we see larger numbers. For instance, here we see 6,408, 6,585, etc. And these numbers are formed by adding the numbers from the bottom, those 177 days, across those pages. And interestingly, it includes the number 6,585, which is the so-called Saros interval, an important interval with a high likelihood of a recurring eclipse. The intervals between the pictures are 1742, 1033, 1210, etc. And these are also all real eclipse cycles. In total, these pages cover 11,960 days, after which the cycle starts over again. And those 11,960 days is equal to 405 lunar months, and also exactly to 48 Tzolkins, those 260-day cycles. If we then divide that 11,960 days by those 405 lunar months, we obtain a lunar month of 29.53086 days, while the modern value is 29.53059 days. And if we subtract these numbers, we find a difference of only 23 seconds. Incredible! The Dresden Codex also has a beautiful Venus table. The motion of Venus in the sky is divided into its time as a morning star, that is when it is seen just before sunrise, as an evening star seen after sunset, and also in 2 periods in between where Venus is not visible because it is located either in front or behind the sun. On the bottom of each of these pages we see 4 numbers: 236, 90, 250 and 8. And this probably corresponds to these intervals of Venus. But strangely, the numbers are incorrect. The real values are 263, 50, again 263 and 8. And these mistakes might have occurred because Venus is tough to observe when it sets shortly before or after the sun, since the sun is blinding it. Yet, in both cases, if we add up these 4 numbers, we do end up with the same total, 584 days, which is the correct period of Venus. If we then move through the table, we see that at various points, days are subtracted to give an even closer approximation of the orbital time of Venus. After 301 revolutions of Venus, which equals about 481 years, only 24 days are subtracted, giving 175,760 days for those 301 periods. And from this we can calculate the period of Venus as 583.92026 days. And this is just 23 seconds removed from the modern value. Again, impressive. Above these Venus intervals we see a row of Venus glyphs, and these are combined with glyphs stating whether Venus appears or disappears, and in what direction. And each page also has 3 pictures, with in the middle the Venus god Tzolkin with a spear, and at the bottom a stabbed victim. Somehow the appearance of Venus was seen as a violent victory. The Dresden Codex also has a short Mars table, which shows pictures of the Mars beast hanging from the zodiac. And notice here that his head is equal to the Mars glyph, which you can also see in the text on top. The black numbers under the Mars beast add up to 78, and the table next to it gives all the multiples of 78 from 1 till 10. So we see 1 times 78, 2 times 78, 3 times 78, etc. And because this goes up to 10, this suggests that we have to go through that cycle of 78 days 10 times, ending up at 780 days, which is the correct period of Mars. The text also contains some mysterious large numbers. Here we see in black the long count dates 991600 and 999160. And on the left side here we see 620, where the 0 here is encircled, and that's why we call it a ring number. Now it turns out that in that long count system, if we subtract that ring number 620 from the starting date of the calendar 00000, if we now add that other number to it, 991600, we get to that other number that is depicted, 999160. So clearly all these numbers are related. Whatever it all means is unclear, but that number 991600 is equal to 1,366,560 days. And this huge number is a super number that is divisible by a wide range of cycles. It is divisible by 260, the Tzolkin calendar, by 365, the so-called Haap year of the Mayans. It is divisible by the period of Venus, 584 days, by the period of Mars, 780 days, and also by the calendar round, 18,980 days, which we've discussed in the previous lecture. So after this interval, all these different cycles return to their initial values. Very interesting. And finally, we'll have to mention the mysterious serpent numbers, although there is no consensus yet about their meaning. They are unusually large numbers, written within the curves of serpents, with some numbers exceeding 34,000 years. What the hell did they need those intervals for? Again, if you look at the various dates around the serpents, a lot of them seem connected. Clearly something spectacular is going on here. But at this point, we're just not sure what. And there we have it, the marvelous Maya astronomy in the Dresden Codex. I hope you were inspired, and if you want to know more about Mayan astronomy or any other topic from world history, then read my book In Search of the Sublime. You can read it completely for free on worldhistorybook.com, or you can buy a physical book on Amazon. And of course, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.